about those slogans that the Panthers use and didn't understand. That you could raise the contradiction between these two groups and induce revolution. See, Marx lived in 1848, and Marx didn't know that this proletariat here was going to things called what? Unions. And guess what unions are for? Profit. So you got two damn group of white folks fighting over profit. Okay, now, blacks are not in the ruling class or in the unions, believe it or not. The blacks are what Marx called what? The lumpen proletariat. Now the Panthers, and I'm not just picking on Panthers, many of them are my students who are opted to not stay in the struggle for race and did it for class and ass. But the thing about this here is that even the Panthers start calling us what? Lumpen. The lumpen proletariat. Guess what Marx said about the lumpen proletariat? Marx stated that the lumpen proletariat was not a potential revolutionary force. So even Marx said that. So because they're what? They're not taught to the means of what? Production. So if you admit that we are lumpen proletariat, you cannot say you're a Marxist. Not as a black person, unless you need my professional services. You simply can't do that. We can. I tell you, we know Naeem and I, we got this thing going. I always say, the one contradiction in the black community, and I'm very serious about this. I know stuff I sound funny. I'm very serious about it. Is that we have no contradictions. That's the one contradiction. There are no contradictions in the black community, and that is because, again, the thing I'm talking about, mental side. Let me move on here. Okay, so that takes care of Marx. Okay, let's talk about Freud just for a minute. See, Freud. I think you all should study Freud. Study Freud, because Freud took the position that there were differences between blacks and whites, and he didn't put no type of value on it. He put the value on the Europeans. Here's what Freud says, and says it clearly. Read him clearly. He said that the white race, he was very clear about it. Very clear. The Europeans, he wrote it very clearly. And he wrote all about Africans, that Africans seem to have a different type of personality. He said the Europeans are motivated by two genetically determined irrational drives, namely sexuality and aggression, which he calls the death instinct and the life instinct, and constant battle. And Marx said since these are genetically determined traits, that they have two genetically determined traits, sexuality and aggression, that society had to be developed in order to set certain rules, in order to set certain type of conditions to keep these two natural drives to whites, from spontaneous, doing what? From spontaneous, spontaneous expressing themselves, therefore threatening the life, threatening the species. He wrote that clearly. And that is why if you try to expose black folks to analysis really means, that's what he meant. You have to, see, it's only about 4 things you can do to a person in therapy. Just for those of you who want to go on, I hope you do. Because this is fight for the mind. I'm just giving you that's about 4 things you, one thing you can do for blacks in a mental health center, anywhere else, in this room, is that you can leave them alone. I mean, that's the first thing. And many of them would be better left alone. Better leave alone. Second thing you can do, however, is to do what? Give them support. Give them various support. Give them support in such a way, because what they're doing is needs certain of your professional skills to give them support. The third thing you can do, of course, is you can re-educate. You can re-educate means that their learning patterns, the way they address themselves to their life is inappropriate, and you re-educate. The fourth thing is possibly you might be able to do, and that's where Freudian psychology came in, psychoanalysis. It's completely restructure the personality. Literally give the person a new personality. And so Freud took the position that Europeans would have to be sent through psychoanalysis in order to try to contain these natural drives. Now right away, you don't have to be no genius to understand that these are natural drives, how difficult it is. So when you see what Harold was talking about is somewhat in error. This is what is so difficult. See, what you are and all of us can fail to believe is there's some inconsistency with white people's theory and their practice. It is really not. It's really not. Now we get to your other one that all you go. Okay, that's Freudian. You can question me in depth. That's Freudian psychology. You learn it well enough and get a PhD in almost any country, in any university in this country. If you learn it well enough. If you learn it well enough. See, the whole process of getting through universities in this country is expended effort. Expended effort. Listen, that's all. And medical school is the easiest. Everybody's raving over Morehouse in medical school. Do you know what a black doctor does? He's a slave. Our black doctors are some of the most dysfunctional people you want to see. They never come out of those clinics. They come into their offices every day and hear 200 women, a gynecologist. Hear 200 sisters looking at them. And believe it or not, they do not treat those illnesses that they scream in. They treat the sister. And you can, I'm just showing you, this is another lesson. I'm off marketing now. I'm going in to talk to you about medicine. And next time you go to your physician, do this for me. Watch and see, don't they follow this pattern. First, they take you in a little room and you begin to get ready, be prepped by a nurse for the doctor. And you can hear him coming. Literally hear him coming towards you. And the most he spends with anybody is 10 minutes, if that. And as he comes in, he's going through his ritual. How are you? If you knew, why the hell would you be there? I mean, this, that, and this, and that. And all the time touching you and feeling you and, and writing the same prescriptions for you he wrote for the other 5. But let me tell you, what he's doing, he's treating the person. And that's very important. Because there's no way, if you stop and think about it, there's no way anyone, if you see one medical book, that thick, it's impossible to comprehend everything in that one book. But you see, my point I'm telling you as students, don't let that deter you. If you can think it all, you need 2 things to get through medical school. 2 things. You need the capacity to study and a good memory. The capacity to sit for long periods of time and read garbage and regurgitate it. That's all. That's all medical school. In fact, medical school to me is the easiest school. Psychology, if you really... Let me tell you about psychology. I'm going to go on that you all don't know. Let me just go through some of my experience. One time I walked into a clinic. I did my training at the University of Chicago Medical School. I walked into this room, and brother sitting there, this is over 10 years ago, brother sitting there hooked up to a machine. I mean, hooked up from the head, like somebody from Mars. Hooked up. And, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and the nurse was sitting there because it was in intensive care. I said, what the hell? Well, I thought I knew everything about the brain. Me and my arrogant self. So I thought I knew everything about the brain, like many of you think you know everything there is to know at 18. So, and so what happened was, this was electrical stimulation of the brain. That's how I stumbled into the electrical stimulation. Just stumbled in there. I'd been reading about it. I knew almost everything about it, but when I saw it, I didn't recognize it. That's my only point. The other thing is that I'm just showing you what psychology is not what you all think it is. It's not giving people in there. There's another guy named Osgood at the University of Illinois. He becomes very important now. Osgood did a lot of work with computers. But he came up with a theory called GRIT. They call it GRIT at the Pentagon. Graduated Reciprocal Initiative Attention Reduction. What Osgood has done, he's done it a long time ago, but what he has done, he decided to treat countries like you do a personality, like you do an individual. That treat the entire country like you do an individual. And the Pentagon uses this. What this means is graduated reciprocal initiative. It means what they're doing with Iran right now. What they're doing with Iran right now, it follows Osgood, a psychologist. Develop that. That's a psychologist. Then we have, of course, which I think is probably one of the 5 most dangerous crafters in the world. That's Skinner. Skinner. Let me tell you what Skinner wrote. And y'all just think he's talking about M&M. He wrote these 8 words, and listen to them carefully, write them down, and look at it every morning. Those are 8 most profound words. See, Skinner wrote that behavior is shaped and maintained by its consequences. Listen carefully. That's why he wrote Beyond Freedom and Dignity. What Beyond Freedom and Dignity was All of these black folks are talking about they want freedom and they want dignity. And if you listen to